Hello, everybody. Hope you had a good break. If you don't already know me, my name is Suel. I will be the chair of this session. And welcome to the panel discussion is Communicating Astronomy in Central Asia and Middle East. I come from Kosovo, so it's my honor to lead this session. It's my second time at CAP, and I have the honor to introduce the moderators and the panelists, both on site and online. So we have Jafari. Sorry if I misspell your names. He's connected to UNESCO International Decade of Indigenous Languages. He will tell us more. The World Space Week Association and the Office for Astronomy Education, and he's a NEC team of Iran. So thank you for joining. He connects astronomy communication, education, outreach, and international engagement. So welcome, Saeed. The next we have Mike from United States. Mike was former president of AWB. He also helped many countries and associations around the world, including Kosovo. So we are very honored for that. Now he leads his Astronomy for Equity. He will also share more what he do. So he is engaged in public engagement, making astronomy accessible to communities around the world. So thank you, Mike. It's my honor also to welcome the three panelists here on site. Mr. Areg, Mickaelian, thank you for joining from Burakan Observatory and for hosting a CAP conference in Armenia. We have Madame Susanne Hoffmann from Germany. She's an independent researcher. Her work connects astronomy with history, culture, and public communication, bringing an important perspective to this discussion. So thank you for joining. We have Moe here, joining us in person, affiliated to the New York University in Abu Dhabi, in United Arab Emirates, but you're originally from Iran, right? From Lebanon, sorry. From Lebanon, so it's an honor to have you here. You bring valuable regional cooperation and perspective and experience in astronomy. Also, we have online Aysegul Yelkenci from Turkey, from Istanbul Culture University. She brings experience in astronomy education, science communication, and we are very happy to have her joining here online. So hello from Yerevan. And we, the last but not least, Shirin Zandian. We also joined by her, although her institutional affiliation is not listed, but we are pleased to have her perspective to this regional discussion. So it's my honor to give the floor to the moderators, and we look forward to the panel discussion. So thank you for being here with us to listen to this. We have plenty of time. So the whole session will be yours. So please.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I'm Saeed Jafari. You are in the Middle East. You are in the actually Southwest Asia, and you heard about the this country that you heard about, like Iran, like Armenia, like Iraq, and over side of the Persian Gulf, the Arab countries. It's about the conflict always, about the barriers, the outlet. It's completely different for the rest of the world. So my intention for this panel discussion, because the CAP conference now is organizing in Armenia, it is very worth to actually know about the different country, their activity in astronomy, communication, outreach, and education. So I would like to start from a ground level question, because we have a different panelist, and I selected panelists from different languages and different culture. This is something that I'm really interested to know, because this is a question from Areg. Areg, after I think 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, this is the first time that IUCAP conference actually is organizing inside of the Middle East. I know you sent a proposal for the CAP conference. And I would like to ask you how actually the idea of the CAP actually brought to your mind to actually invite many astronomers, astronomy communicators, and educated all over the world, and give them actually the idea of the cultural, historical, and linguistic concept from the Middle East. This is something that everybody here that actually they get lesson learned from our region. And what is the idea of the conference in your mind, with all the barriers?
I think the idea is the same as having pastoral projects elsewhere in the world. So the same idea to try to organize here around the sector of the Middle East, because the Middle East is part of the world. Our countries are also IU members, IU policy, IU strategy, everything is also for us. And we are active members of IU, most of these countries here, and Armenia especially because it hosts the IU office of Australia for development, but it is not separate. The Australia for development, Australia for education, Australia outreach are more or less acting together and collaborating very tightly. That's why it is natural that
So Areg, is your mic on? Just to say.
Thank you. You can.
Yes, you can.
Okay, it's better? Yeah, seems to me. Okay, so, but shall I repeat everything for the record or not?
Yes?
Yeah, it's good now. Yeah, now people can hear.
No, I mean, shall I repeat or not?
Please, if you can.
Maybe yes, because in the Ring Central they didn't hear in this case. Okay, so we are part of IAU, Armenia and many of these countries here in the region. And we have the same strategy, the same goals, the same activities as elsewhere in the world. So CAP conferences are being organized anywhere in the world every 2 years. It is not very frequent, which means that each part of the world, let's say, is waiting for their turn to have such conferences and to have such ideas, such approach to communicating astronomy or any science to society. And also we need it, and everybody needs this. That's why Armenia applied for this conference. It is only once per 2 years. It's rare, let's say, but it is IAU normal, regular conferences that we need to participate. Typically, IAU conferences at any such meetings are gathering people from mostly from neighboring countries. That's why the necessity to organize such meetings anywhere in the world in different regions is very, very important.
Yes, thank you. Because I'm thinking that, based on your answer, something which is important totally for each region, we have to think about regional cooperation and how we can, as the local astronomy communicator, science policy maker, to give them overview from the cultural context to the all over the world, rest of the world, to how the life are going in in actually this sort of the region, and how we can actually communicate with the rest of the world because of this sort of the hosting. So Mike, if you have a question, because we have to actually be flexible.
Well, maybe following up on that, we can see Armenia is in a sense more advanced as far as astronomy, largely because of your work. And the other countries here may not have the same advantages. There are very big differences in terms of culture. I can't see the other panelists up there now, but there has been a lot of presentations from Iran, which you're from, Saeed. In terms of challenges, Iran is one that's not going to be unlikely to have a CAP conference anytime soon. And maybe Shirin could speak to the challenges of connecting with the international community. It's a very extreme example right now.
Yes, exactly. Shirin, if you can turn on actually your microphone. The question of the mics is about the barrier of astronomy communication in Iran. And you can see, I think more than 10 participants from Iran couldn't actually join the panel, join the CAP conference to talk and present, actually they're talking in person. So talk about the barriers and challenges that you are facing in Tehran.
First of all, hello everyone. I hope that you can hear me well with lots of VPNs I have been testing till I reach here. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
That's great. So yeah, we have lots of challenges in here exactly this moment, from instability to sanctions and internet restrictions, which actually led us not be able to communicate with outer of our country. And even here, I'm really happy for you, Saeed, and for all the Iranian people that I know with lots of work you have just get there. Thank you so much to represent our community there. And yeah, unfortunately, we have so many challenges here, but we are still trying to find a way to lighten the candle of outreach programs like astronomy, because in these days I believe, as I can see in so many of my students at school, I can see so yeah, I should turn off my video. Then I do
Shirin,
not
we
know
can
if you can
hear
hear
you
me.
clear. It's
Oh, you
okay.
can hear me. Okay, I'm really. Yeah, they have really challenged with these problems. But one of the things that can help them is to reminding them that the sky is still the same, and we can reach for something bigger, and we can find something really interesting out there. Yeah. And it gives them actually a very, very good emotional support during these really hard days.
Yeah. So actually, this is a very practical practical points, because I believe that due to these limitations, this is something that we learned in the CAP conference as a science communication community. I wanted to give this lesson there to the rest of the world. Due to the old barriers, due to the old challenges, but people from Iran, the science communicators, those people who have not very good income, to come here to talk to you as a science communicator from other part of the world, to make the community safe, to talk about the region that there is a lots of cultural actually identity that related to the skies. You know about the many constellation, the truth in the Arabic context, the Persian. I know some for Armenia, and this is something that we have to think about the different part of the world and to communicate with each other effectively. So I turn the question to the other panelists, which is on the other side of the Persian Gulf. Moe, you are currently working with actually an institution which is a high-tech environment, and you're working with a science communicator with high-tech technology, and you have a different type of the audience, I believe, in Dubai, because everybody, I think, if you wanted to visit Middle East, you are interested in to see the Dubai because of the those sort of the activity that they have. I wanted to actually tell us about the Arabic context of astronomy in your country, that you communicate astronomy in your context, and what is your challenges due to actually the barriers that we have in the region, not at this moment, even before.
Okay, thank you for your question. Of course, the UAE is part of the Arabic part of the Middle East. I think the UAE, the challenges in the UAE is shared by other countries as well, especially the Arabic one, if you want to start with that. But I feel like the UAE itself is trying to advance the science of astronomy and trying to deliver this science to every single person in the UAE and also outside. So this is why right now you see the new space agencies happening. There are 2 space agencies in the UAE. There's one new one in Saudi Arabia, which has been launched in the few years ago. I'm sure you've also noticed the astronauts that have been sent to the ISS recently, including the Saudi Arabian one. And I feel like this is part of, see, sending an astronaut to the ISS is one thing. It has many different reasons and objectives. Could be scientific experiments, could be so many other things. But I feel like it's always in the beginning. It is more to promote the science of astronomy and astrophysics and exploration and all of that. So I feel like this whole thing is growing. There's a lot of momentum. in the Middle East, in the Arabic part, in the Arabic world, specifically in the Middle East, towards space exploration, towards delivering the science to every single person in schools and also to the public. And I have to mention that the Middle East is also a really good geographically. We are lucky because we have the desert. And so once you have the desert, you also have the dark skies. And you also have the ancient history of naming the stars, and many of them have Arabic names. So if you fuse all of these things together, it makes total sense that people in the Arabic part of the Middle East are interested in space exploration. Challenges a lot, of course, depends on the country. Some countries are more privileged; they have more resources than the other. But you would notice one thing. You see, I think there's a correlation between underdeveloped countries with not many resources, and with the number of people who are really interested in astronomy. And then I don't know, maybe it's just a way for kids in underdeveloped countries to, to stretch their minds and look up in the sky and all of that. Of course, there's also the religious challenges sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to go into sensitive topics. Big Bang, evolution, these things. So there's you have to be careful anyway.
So I'd like to go back in time a little bit here, because we're talking about this region and all the separate little parts and the different cultures and the conflict. But if you go back 2,000 years or 3,000 years, you would not recognize it. And there are so many different civilizations that have come through this area back and forth, and influences that influence us now. And these are the things that really tie these current nation states together. So Susanne, I wanted to ask you about the history and the background of this area, and what the similarities and differences are that between cultures that have come from the ancient civilizations and so on. Because there was a time when it was one or several different ones warring. So do you have any thoughts on that? Where we are now based on where we were going back in time?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer, of course, because there's so many time layers in history. And, humans moved all the time. I personally, in my lifetime, have moved probably 20 times or so. So humans move with the humans, with the individuals, also languages and cultural practices and goods move. So it's, I think it's a continuous exchange, and you cannot really strictly separate cultures from one another. So, for instance, as a historian, traditionally, historians focus very much on the written material, because this is the best documented. So then we would have the Arabic writing culture, the culture that is writing in the Arabic language, which doesn't mean that is one united culture, because there are many people with different cultural background using the same language to express themselves. Or the Almagest, a historical book written in North Africa 2,000 years ago in not Arabic but ancient Greek, but incorporating so many different cultures, like ancient Egyptian, ancient Mesopotamian material from this area here. So we actually don't know where boundaries could be drawn, because they probably have never been boundaries in the modern sense. So I think that when it comes down to individuals, this is really difficult to tell. I mean, all conflicts might be on a level of heads of states or any bigger entities, bodies, but individuals move. Move flats, move like travel. So there always had been exchange between all these cultures, and we can trace that back actually to ancient Mesopotamia 3,000, 4,000 years ago.
Well, I ask because I've been to Babylon and Persepolis and seen the different cuneiform writings in different places, different languages. One empire but different cultures. And in a sense, it gives me a sense that these are not really so separate. It's this moment in time we seem to be really separate, and we
Yeah.
make it that way. But it in a way we are not.
Anecdote. So this year, the world's biggest archaeology conference was supposed to take place in Baghdad, and obviously it didn't happen. So I have never been to Baghdad yet.
Yes, thank you so much. This is really a useful answer because we see sometimes, look at the heritage and turn it to the practice because we learn from the past, from our civilization that the use from the indigenous night sky as part of the daily life of the older people many years ago. And this is something that we can learn at these days as a public engagement model. So I'm directing to the Aysegul. I wanted to actually go to the practice model. I know you're working as a NIC team chair for the IUOAE Aysegul, and you're closely working with the teachers. And I see that, in the Middle East, many teachers, they can train children and make the new generation to, save for, future days about the astronomy, about the space, and bringing back good news for, our country or nation. So how you can train teachers in your country based on the Turkish context, as far as I know, you are part of the Europe and part of the Middle East in the Turkish context. So how you can face this sort of the barrier and provide the best practice in your community?
Well, thank you, Saeed, for the question. Of course, it's not an easy job, and it takes decades to do that. We started in 2004, I must say, communicating with the Ministry of Education, and we started bounding some communications and make it more solid each year. But it does take some time. Meanwhile, we were also trying to train or help the professional development of teachers who would like to have some more information and knowledge on the way that they can teach their students about the astronomy in the curriculum, which we have actually inside the curriculum. So the first stage was that the curriculum has been changed with our communication through Turkish Astronomical Society and several academic people, and also our communication with the ministry. We did manage to change the curriculum. That was the first point. And we did involve more astronomy in the science curriculum and physics, and have a selective astronomy course inside the high school education curriculum. And after that, because teachers felt not complete about the things that they have to teach in the first month of the year, academic year, they wanted to have the teachers themselves, the trainings themselves. So they were the ones who were coming to our trainings and asking for this need. So according to the need analysis that we have done so far, we had trained, I don't know, thousands of teachers, because we have high populations. So that means a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of teachers as well. And it doesn't end. We still have many people to go. But the first pile of teachers that we have been in contact since 2004, now they are working inside the Ministry of Education in the curriculum department and writing the books. So that was really important for the sustainability of this movement. So of course, the techniques that has to be used in the education, I mean, more inquiry-based examples and so on. So in the years, the techniques also changed. The books have changed. Now we have more hands-on and IBL techniques in the science books, where we can also use astronomy experiments and so on in other concepts as well. And it also depends on the teacher. If they are willing to use this concept, they can use it in any other any other area as well. It can be a music or drama or whatever. It depends on the enthusiasm of the teacher as well. Of course, we have this culture coming from Mesopotamia and so on. So we have like songs and some traditions. We have different lores for the same constellations. But today's children actually don't know that. This knowledge does not pass through to them. So this is also one part that now we are trying to deal with. We are trying to bring the old knowledge, information that we have learned from our ancestors or our grandfathers and so on. And the meaning of the things that we use in daily life also belongs to some old knowledge. And using this, people are more engaged into the subject. Not only the students, but also their parents are important. So it is the public that we are talking about here. So we have to take them into consideration together with the students and the parents. So if you can engage them all, that is more solid and permanent, actually, transfer of science as well.
Yes, I'm thinking that teacher. There is lots of barrier for the teachers. I see many amateur astronomers, astronomy communicators, but the problem is that the professional astronomy teacher training is really less in different parts of the world. Because we need to train the teacher to how you can effectively localize, international content from the astronomical context to your languages. And this is something that we have to take care about, not only the teachers, but of course, children and the youth, because the future are on their hand. So Mike, please.
Yeah, well, I think this raises an interesting point, and it's a problem. It's something that is both good and presents many challenges, is because I think what we're talking about here is globalization. We're now coming down to a standard. I'm familiar with in the United States, educational standards and so on. And in order to provide resources, these resources, the education, the training and so on, is based on mostly one sort of a model. But then that ignores the local circumstances. And I'm interested in what Areg has to say about this in Armenia, because you've been involved in this for a very long time. And this is a challenge as well. The opportunities present a challenge to incorporate the new learning that comes from the standardization worldwide, but not lose the culture. Then this is a country with a very rich culture that is still remembered. I see so much everywhere. So how do you make that balance? And has that changed over the years? Many opportunities, but presents challenges as well.
Just let me present the situation. What is with astronomy teaching first? Before it was in the school curriculum till 2009. Now it is not. So now children pass astronomy only a few hours at the end of the ninth form in the schools. It is in frame of physics. So it is, of course, quite small number of hours. Because astronomy becomes, as I said in my talk, astronomy is now more and more important. And it's strange that nobody or very few people understand this. Astronomy is now much more important than before because it deals with all sciences and is part of each science just expanding to the universe, taking more data from the universe, deals with astronomy and collaborates with astronomy. That's why people should know astronomy much better than before. Before the knowledge was not so much in astronomy, but now we have a lot. So it is not possible to skip astronomy. That's why I don't know how actually we can discuss this, how we can achieve this to explain people, authorities, governments that astronomy is important. Because as I know, not only in Armenia, but in many countries, astronomy is not in the school curriculum. Once we discussed this at the European Astronomical Meeting, and very few countries really have astronomy. On the other hand, astronomy is also, it is subject of our conference, it is the best science for communication, for outreach. Everybody will agree that compared to other sciences, astronomy is better understandable, is romantic, is attractive for children. That's why we should, astronomers, we all who is here, should somehow develop, somehow strengthen this possibility and this idea to promote astronomy more and more. Yes, this is exactly subject for discussion. We have a lot of organizations, including this IAU nodes, IAU regional offices. We have many other possibilities to communicate astronomical tourism. As I said, in Armenia, for example, astronomical tourism is the leader of scientific tourism in all touristic fields, let's say. And we try to do a lot, it seems, from one hand, but on the other hand, it seems that it is not enough. So maybe because I love very much instrument, I would like to do more and more. That's why I'm not satisfied. But on the other hand, I think there is a lot of still to be done.
Thank you so much, Areg. Yeah, I think this is the time we have to ask a couple of the question from. So, what is our best practices in the Middle East through the 10 years ago, through the 20 years ago? So, I wanted to directly ask this question from Shirin, because I know the first language of Shirin is not Persian. It's a language of your city, which is related to the Yazd, and because of your ethnicity. As far as I know, you use from the storytelling and narration to communicate astronomy based on the literature of the Persian, because of the literature of the Iranian civilization, to communicate astronomy with the children in your school, to be inspired for the future and learn about not only astronomy, but of course for the humanity. What is your method to communicate this sort of storytelling style with your audience?
Thank you so much, Saeed. I believe that that astronomy is a kind of. Can you hear me? Well, sorry to check.
Perfectly.
Yeah, thank you. I believe that astronomy is kind of a shared human heritage. And of course, as you know, the Middle East and also Iran is deeply connected to the history, to the literature, to the poetry, architecture, and so many other parts of that. As my experience using storytelling in my classes to teach astronomy and also physics to students, it really helps more people to engage with the subject that we're talking, and specifically it instead of giving so many heavy educational informations to them, I'm going to interact them and engage them through stories, which is really interesting, and it was really helpful. We do in some part of our curriculum at school, we do have astronomy subjects, but sometimes because teachers, it's hard for even teachers to talk about them, they miss that parts, specifically the parts that are about the scientists, the old scientists that we have, or even about the old books that had mentioned some of the scientific facts that has written, for example, we have in really old book Bundahesh, or in Gatha, or as we have so many great scientists in this area, for example, Khaja Nasiruddin Tusi, or even in the Arab region, Ibn Haytham, that works really hard in physics and specifically in astronomy parts of that. And I believe the way that we know about those old great scientists that did so many great experiments and find out so many great theories and facts can help people to communicate more with the science that we are talking about. And they learn exactly about the process that science has been made, or let's say the science that we already can talk about. They learn it wasn't used to be like this before. They did so many things, so many experiments, and also by saying stories, I believe not only we can engage children and students, but also we can engage elderly, specifically those ones who are really want to get back to their roots, to their ancient parts, and where they came from. I believe that it is one of the most interesting parts that I can do, and interesting for me specifically in my classes.
Thank you so much, Shirin. And you can find a couple of the barrier in this screen. The screen is not clear because of the internet connection in Iran. It's cut off. This is something that I know my friends, our colleagues, an Iranian, astronomy educator, they're trying to find how they can effectively communicate astronomy with their children in a situation that there is lots of conflict and we are not good. And we are using, as far as you know, Shirin and a couple of the Iranian teacher on the south of the Iran, using astronomy for mental health, not just to learn astronomy. So what is the useful of astronomy during the war? So this is something that I really appreciate those sort of the friends like Shirin and the many Iranian astronomy educating to think about, to be an effective and create connection between the humanity, astronomy, and something for, something useful for the children. So over to you, Mike.
Well, yeah, I'd like to follow up on that, and Mo mentioned it earlier as well. I had a request for telescopes in Ukraine because their infrastructure was knocked out, and they had dark skies. And so I sent them there, but I ended up going there and meeting the students and the teachers there as well, traveling around the country. I've helped also, Suhail mentioned, well, Kosovo is stable now, but I got some telescopes there. Also worked with people in Libya, Ethiopia, and many other places like this. And astronomy becomes very important. So what you raise as a question is, maybe it's a good thing in developing countries. It's true that it makes a difference in developing countries where it gives some greater sense of connection to younger people, especially. When I started Astronomers Without Borders, it was actually when I traveled to Iraq, I go to Baghdad just before the US invasion, and I was back in Kurdistan later during the war. And this was before the internet became really big, and they put out a special newsletter of their astronomy club, and the title, the front page just said, "We are not alone anymore." This connection with the sky and with other people around the world is really important, and it becomes more important when there are issues like this as well. And I'm not sure who to ask in this panel if anybody wants to talk about that aspect, because one of the great challenges of the region is it has had conflict off and on. Susanne, you looked like you were thinking about that. But I don't.
Well, yes, I'm thinking about that, and indeed, all sorts of activity, might that be astronomy or any other, like citizen science project that can involve people and make people actively collaborating, I think can bridge these gaps. And can cross boundaries, and we can. I haven't done that in war times, but in underdeveloped regions, or where people have at least some internet connection, they can observe something and then exchange their data with other people somewhere else in the world, and that creates a sense of a united humanity, I think. And this is actually what is a spirit that we can spread in the world, we astronomers, I mean.
So in a sense, the challenges present the opportunity.
So I would like to actually ask the next question from the Moe, because I know Moe is speaking Arabic language, and we have I think more than 8 countries that speak Arabic in different accent, and you have actually a high tech technology to actually communicate science with your audience. But when we discuss with each other, you talk about because you are a professional astronomer, you train the other astronomer on the other side of the actually Middle East, which is very close to your country. So but when you want to communicate science or teach the science, for those of actually students or young professional who cannot grow very well in the region, how we can help them? What is the solution we as a professional science communicator or you as a professional astronomer to help them to learn astronomy and grow their community in a local scale?
Okay, thanks for the question. I think again we go back to the topic that was discussed by Areg, and so it's really the first step would be going into the curriculum, like implementing astronomy classes inside the curriculum, and this is a big problem. At least in the Arabic countries, I'm not aware about any country that has astronomy as a major topic in their curriculum. And Areg, you mentioned that. So in Armenia now they take it in, I don't know, grade 9. You said in the physics topics, which is good. If I know countries in the Arabic world where they implement astronomy in the geography topic. So they take it in the geography class, and they still say there are 9 planets and not 8. It is not updated. It is that bad, you know. So I think the first thing would be curriculum. In terms of outreach, I can say for sure there's a lot of momentum in the Arabic world in terms of outreach, stargazing, public talks, social media, podcasts, planetariums, astrophotography. All these things are happening in the Arabic world. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you just don't see them online, but they are happening. Another thing that would be helpful for the Arabic word is determine the finding the right terms for the astronomical scientific words. And I think Mariam from Bahrain could tell you a bit about this, because she's here and she organizes let's say once a month an online presentation, online talk. We were talking about this yesterday, and in one of the presentations it was an Arabic speaking girl but presenting in Arabic but using English terms, neutron stars, black holes, AGN, something like that. And then some people were objecting, like, hey, why you're using these terms? The problem is we do not have well defined Arabic terms for astronomy. I mean, for the basic things we do, but for the real deep scientific ones, we really don't. I don't even know them. So I think curriculum and finding the right terms and implementing this in classes would do it well. In terms of outreach, I think it's really happening. You'll be surprised how much is happening in the Arabic world in that terms.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, there's one important point here. We always talk about, science communication community, but there are, those sort of the community, science policy makers. We're talking about, curriculum, because, some policy makers, they said, no, this is not a good topic because of a religious perspective. This topic is not very fine, because I remember the Galileo actually idea in some Iranian book, and it was, I think, I cannot remember. Shirin, no, because Shirin is former astronomy educator. It was erased from the Iranian primary or secondary book. And this is really sad. So this is very important to how we can reach out policy makers to make our community stronger and give the idea how we can actually teach astronomy to the children with the idea of the sustainable development and sustainable heritage. So I want to get back Aysegul because we are working in a actually international project for astronomy education research. I want to ask you, Astro Bigly began in 2006 and has trained teachers through many workshops across the Turkey. What made teacher training the right starting point? Because teacher training is just not organize a program in your local context, because every time a teacher think about that, this is really easy. Saeed, please organize this workshop. No, this is not easy. We have to design that. We have to consult with the educational consultant. So how you can do this in Turkey context? Because you are specifically working as an education expert, not the outreach expert, because it is completely different from each other, like the IU office, OE1, OE.
Well, first of all, we need people to do that. So, volunteering academicians and again, some educators and so on to be able to do the trainings as well. And also, we are the same bunch of people who are doing the communication stuff. So, it is a volunteering job, I think, because we also have some our own projects and researchers as academicians and so on. But still, we are trying to improve the country. So in 2000, at the beginning of 2000, actually before the International Year of Astronomy, we came together and started to think of what can we do before that, the Year of Astronomy. So we were we were facing this issue of this bug in the inside the education. So we started earlier than some countries in even in Europe. Still, they don't have this in their curriculum, but we do, and we have to insist on what we are doing. So that is also one part. So you have to be insisting to the ministries, to the people that you're working with. You have to prove them that what you're doing, it will be useful in the end, in 2 decades time maybe. You have to be more realistic. You have to come up with PISA numbers and so on. So you have to talk their language in a way to convince them that this project works. And after that, it really, because we believe it was going to work, we had this 11 people called Astrobilgi also working with Turkish Astronomical Society. We were already doing some astronomy education and outreach together. So we communicated two parts. I don't think they're two different parts, actually. They're related for each other. So education and outreach is also completing their projects. So that's how we come up together and still working on the same group with the same people trying to teach the teachers. So yes, you can change the curriculum. Yes, we do have a separate astronomy course in high school. It is selective, but that's something. Okay, now we are going to have more than one in the next upcoming um, curriculum change. It's being designed. So it is part of our mission, let's say, to use this as a leverage for communicating with public and the awareness of science. um, we are still also working on archaeoastronomy. We are also working on other fields as well. So people get to know you and all these people that still, it's not a huge community of astronomers in Turkey, but a bunch of people are using these areas to leverage the science using astronomy.
Thank you so much, guys.
So this brings up a common challenge that is true in almost all countries, but perhaps more in different countries, which is that there aren't enough people in astronomy to do all the work that is necessary. And I don't know which countries this might be a greater challenge. I know Iran really well, and there are many different groups. They don't necessarily all work together, but there are a lot of people. There's a lot of interest. And I'm not sure who to ask particularly. What are the challenges? Is there anybody here that would say, oh yeah, we can attract people to do the work? You know, in the UAE, do you have enough interest there? You've said there's a lot more interest, or Areg here in Armenia now. After all that work, are you still short on the number of people who are interested in taking part?
Actually, maybe it is specific for different countries, but our collaboration may help. You know, in Eastern countries, there is some specific thing when something comes from abroad. For example, a letter from IAU or other countries that they are interested in some activities in your country. The authorities, the government accept this. It is, for them, it is important. Maybe it is a specific point for Eastern countries, I don't know, but we made sometimes, very rare, but such success was done having such letters. So maybe it is one of the methods, but I'm not sure. Of course, we have to work a lot. But to reach our goals, for example, for education, for introducing in curriculum astronomy, etc., etc. If other countries, even neighboring countries, are interested, we can do it together. So whatever we do together, I believe we will succeed.
That's true in many countries. The international aspect. I ran a cornerstone project for the International Year of Astronomy. It was mentioned, and with Astronomers Without Borders, and it makes a big difference for most to be able to say, well, we're taking part in a big international project, and it's the collaboration that matters. Saying there's something outside. It goes back to astronomy connecting us all. When we have an international project, it boosts the people who are involved in that too. So back to you.
Thank you. But I'm just thinking about one of our panelists, because we have from a different country, but I specifically invited Susanne, because I think that we need a cultural aspect of astronomy, someone who are expert, because I believe that the title of the cultural astronomy is not very popular in some countries. They think that astronomy is, but what is the cultural astronomy? Even in Persian, there is no translation for the cultural astronomer. And this is something that I would like to ask you this question. Many modern star names have roots in Arabic, Babylonian, Greek, Latin, Persian, and Hebrew, and other tradition. How can this history help audience, in the Middle East and Central Asia, feel a strong link with the modern astronomy? Because you can give the advice to the astronomy communicator to how you can use actually your cultural identity into your work, as you're working as a chair of the IU IU working group on star names.
Yeah, thank you for the question. As a chair of the working group on star names, I'm actually, I don't have the task to recommend how to do any education. But as a human and as a traveler around the world, I mean, on conference papers, I occasionally write as my affiliation Planet Earth, because I really change between different worlds. I, of course, have some recommendations. For instance, and not only for star names. The first is, for instance, the mere planetarium presentation. So I have been working occasionally in Indonesia and at an Islamic university, and religion, I think, is not always a challenge. Sometimes it's the door that opens the minds towards astronomy. In that case, they built in a planetarium at campus to teach astronomy at the university. And they involved astronomy students. Of course, they have a very special direction of Islamic astronomy that they teach there, but they involve the graduate students in planetarium presentations for the broader public, and they teach everything. I mean, they do not only teach the religious astronomy, they also teach everything else, which, as I said, opens the door to all sorts of astronomy. And cultural astronomy as a term is actually internationally on a global level really, really new. The IAU just 2 years ago established a commission with this title. So it incorporates cultural astronomy. For me, is a sort of umbrella term for everything that is not astrophysics, or which is not in the STEM realm. So it can incorporate much of all sorts of religious and cultural topics. So as I said, it can open a door. It's important for me that it's not limited to there, so that it really doesn't that the people really enter the realm of all sorts of astronomy and do not just stand at the door frame. On the other hand, for the star names specifically, we can also use them, as I said, in planetarium education by, for instance, pointing towards a specific constellation and then saying, this and that star has been named by the IAU with this name from your culture, from our culture, speaking in this specific planetarium. So they are standard names, and most of them are from the Arabic or Sumerian or any Middle Eastern, Western Asian language. Actually, the constellation names are all Latin and maybe have some Greek roots, but the star names not. The star names come from West Asia, from the Arabic and Sumerian languages. So there this we can use, and we can say, like, this is our cultural heritage, speaking in a specific planetarium. Me coming from abroad, I would say it's your heritage. This star was named after, this and that figure, historical, mythological figure, demon, any cultural object or whatever. So this is also one way of just presenting information on knowledge exchange is not really understanding, but it's a door opener.
It's something because really cultural astronomy is something new. Most often it is called also astronomy in culture. For example, before the IAU, this working group, and then commission was called Archaeoastronomy and Astronomy in Culture, AAC. But really it is a big area. It seems it is a small thing and there is not very much to speak. But for example, if we take calendars, in each nation, it is the biggest culture. When any nation had before a calendar, it is a sign of very great culture. And calendar, we know that is based on astronomical knowledge, any calendar. So mythology, of course, it is culture. And tightly related to sky names, almost in all countries. This is because probably people thought before that sky is not reachable for common people. That's why mythology, religion is connected to the sky. Then now there are other different areas of astronomy in culture, like astronomy in literature, astronomy in arts, even there is astroheraldry. In state signs, in flags, in coins, in notes, banknotes, there are some signs of astronomy. For example, on Australian flag, we know it is Southern Cross, and in most of oceanic countries also. And on Brazilian flag, there are 9 constellations. Probably this is the biggest number. 9 constellations, exactly the shape of the sky as it was during the gaining independence of Brazil. So, and it is really astronomical flag. So this area is called astroheraldry. That's why it is a big, maybe it is not very deep science but anyway, to investigate this, to reveal all these things that were connected to astronomy from different nations, different cultures. I think it's very important and interesting.
this is really interesting, and it's something that I've noticed as well. But it isn't just the heritage. There are so many ways in which astronomy has impacted our world today. I mean, if you go online and you look at ratings for a hotel, it's going to be in the number of stars. What if we hadn't ever seen the sky? Would we have movie stars? Would we have 5-star ratings on Yelp and everything? And when you look around, it's incorporated everywhere. But people don't necessarily get the connection. And to follow up on this too, looking at the UAE, we see everybody recognizes the Middle East heritage in astronomy in general, Arabic in particular when we see Arabic names on the stars. And the UAE has moved forward in a very Western way in many ways and adopted that. How much of a connection is there still with the cultural heritage of astronomy? Is it now, this is a new thing, now we have telescopes and everything, or is it still part of astronomy in an Arab country that's advanced like that?
I think actually it took, like, it's taken what it wants to take from the Western, at the same time trying to keep the heritage and the history and all of that. I mean, in the end, any country, if they want to really go deep and advance in space exploration and astronomy, they need the technology, right? And the technology mainly these days comes from one place, one region of the world. So what I'm saying is, no, I feel like the technology is what they are trying to adopt and take from the Western part of the world. But I think big part of it, like, also is protecting the heritage and the history and the culture of the UAE. So yeah, and this could be, I mean, one thing that would reflect this would be the naming of the missions, as an example. So, like, now you have uh, um, the Hope mission. It's actually, this is the English translation, but it's called Amal in Misbar al-Amal in Arabic, which is the Hope rover. Another one is now they are sending a rover to the moon. It's called Rashid 2, which is also like more of an Arabic. Okay, it directly reflects the UAE, and this shows you that they are trying to contain that thing. Um, I mean, it's really hard. I think this is not. It's a challenge. Like, on one hand, you wanna advance and you wanna go strong with technology, and on the other hand, you wanna protect your culture and all of that. So, like, you're in the middle.
So you have to strike a balance when you're doing outreach or education. You're doing the same thing in terms of communicating astronomy. There is an awareness that we need to keep our culture and not let it be overtaken entirely by new technology.
Definitely, yes, yes. This is that. Even in our camps, when we do these things, we make sure that some of the topics really discuss the ancient stars, the origin of the names of stars, and we get special guest speakers talking about these topics. So yeah, we definitely, this is one of our objectives. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for this statement. These statements. It's very interesting to have this perspective, and it's of course it's like a slogan for all educators in the public and the museum planetarium realm, as well as in the schools, that we want to use the mythology and the ancient, the heritage, and so on. And then there are these other. I'm playing devil's advocate now. The other people who say, why should we keep this heritage with this, old-fashioned things? We have modern technology. We know about black holes. Why should we talk about these ancient demons and maybe godless figures in temple walls or something like that? And my reply to these objections as a cultural astronomer would be that actually all these figures that we consider like outdated religions, that they have been put into the sky as demons, as whatever creatures ancient people imagined, because they had been something like weather signs. So ancient calendars were not, we typically explain them as a playful counting of days between, you know, one full moon and the next, or between one solstice and the next, or anything like that. But actually these practices originate, basically all the big religions originate from the subtropics, where we have a very regular climate and we can count days and then predict the weather after like 40 days or any specific number. And that makes sense to count the days. And that is why constellations were made, ancient constellations in you know, very ancient, maybe Neolithic times, had been made as projections of figures forecasting the seasonal weather in the specific region. And the seasonal weather has not changed that much. Yes, there is climate change, and there are changes in, you know, because of the change of the tilt of the axis of the Earth. But, you know, we still have in Central Europe, we have 4 seasons, and in other regions we have the monsoon season and then the dry season. And in Egypt we have 3 seasons, and so on and so on. So the basic climate issue, or, well, how to phrase that, what happens in nature, anything that goes on in the environment, it's not only the seasons, it's, you know, everything. Birds migrate, fish migrate, and so on and so on. And all these aspects that we can observe in nature still happen these days as they had happened 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, when the ancient calendars were made and the constellations were made. And that is why the Babylonian storm demon is in the sky, because it indicates the weather in November when it's stormy, and so on and so on. And so we can reconnect without practicing the ancient religions and, you know, convincing anybody or trying to convince anybody of anything. We can still use these beautiful images in the sky to forecast the weather more or less, or adapt a little bit, and then speak about climate change, which also takes us to science education.
Thank you so much, Susanne and Moe. I think this is really, you know, practical point, because there's a big gap. Just, you know, the communicator and amateur astronomer, you know, based on their experience, you know, their amateur astronomy community, because they know about the culture, they know about the different languages, they try to design this sort of the activity, but there is no cultural astronomer to say that how you can technically connect actually the indigenous night sky with your local community, and what sort of the methodology you can use to effectively communicate the science. Yes, thank you. Just I wanted to move to last question from the Aysegul and Shirin. I have a question from Shirin. You know, this is a very broad question. You know, as far as you know, you are an astronomy teacher in a school. Now, how do children first connect with astronomy? I'm really interested in, because you are working with many children, and this is something that you are using, you know, different method to teach them astronomy. You know, is it through the science, stories, imaginations? What is that? You know, because you have experience on this, and as one of the, you know, rich country in culture astronomy from, you know, some type of the dimension, I'm really interested in to know about your actually data. Shirin is lost, I think. We lost Shirin. I'm so sorry, but I can actually. This is the same question for the Aysegul, because both of you are teacher training. And how about Aysegul in your context? I'm really interested in about your data and your children.
Of course, it's always important to reach out to children through their curiosity, and not to lose that curiosity, keep it alive for years. That's one of the main objectives of the training programs that we use. So using that curiosity, it's always is the curiosity of the mankind that we have, the question why it rains, why there's a thunder, why the sun is lost for a few minutes, then it's coming back, and so on. So we are now having several projects, actually. One of them is some of us here in this conference also is eclipsing borders for the eclipses. We are trying to use also some educational materials that to keep the science behind the eclipse, and also using the eclipse, keeping some science alive, both way around. So we have lots of more student-based tools that we can use inside and outside the classroom, informal and informal education. And informal education is part of communicating with public as well, I believe so. So in science centers and national sky festivals and so on, we always also use this kind of hands-on experiments, let's say, generally speaking, to communicate with the children. And you know what? Most accurate knowledge that comes from some children is that the ones who are shepherds in the mountains, they know the sky better than the students in the urban areas. And we had this, but unfortunately, they are not very much, but they have the best questions when you approach to them, of course. And they know the sky more than some of the people in the cities don't. And we had this analysis, I think we did it 10 years ago. In Turkey, only 25% of the population have seen the Milky Way. It was 10 years ago. Now, with this loss of the sky, it will be even less. So it will be meaningful to have the reason why we have a song called Milky Way, to teach the students using this song. There is something called Milky Way you have never seen. But the reason this song was created in the beginning in our culture was because there's this thing in the sky. So it's always, there is something culture that it is making it more familiar for them to connect to the sky and the science behind it. So if you can use this cultural point of view, they feel more confident, safe somehow.
Yes. Yep. Something, I'm really interested in your answer. You're using from the evaluation analysis, because one of the my problem with the teachers, I ask them, do you have any evaluation and analysis from your schools, from your children? They don't know about the analysis. They don't know about the evaluation. What is your methodology? Even this is something that we are working education in the school, but we do not know about the evaluation and assessment. This is a really big problem to how we can analyze the data and lesson them from that data and actually improve our classroom, especially for those local contexts. So, Mike, we have to actually turn to the online participant to ask the question. From our panelists, because I believe that there is one or two questions.
Thank you, the panelists and the moderators. So we'll address the online question first and then the on-site questions. So Samir asked the question, are there any efforts to improve accessibility to telescopes by making them locally? It could even be a good astro business. Because he's running a relevant AIU project with DIY telescopes and interested to discuss based out of friendly neighborhood India. And because he's asking this, because importing, getting donated telescopes can be a big cost-related hurdle for developing Asian countries. So this could be to any panelist who would like to answer this question.
From our panelist.
I would say I'm interested, and that's what I would say.
I recognize the Summer is the name of the people from the Lebanon and the Arabic country. I believe the Summer.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Summer. Samir. Oh, yes, Samir. Yes, Samir from the India. Yeah. We can answer from our online panelists. You can answer the Samir's question.
He did not.
Oh,
He did not direct this.
This is a comment, of course. There is no question from our online participants. Yeah.
Any more question, Madi? No? No more questions from the online? If there is anyone in the meantime, we'll address if we have time. We'll open the floor to the on-site questions if you guys have anything for our panelists. And sorry.
Hello, thank you for the discussion. It was very enlightening. We've talked about cultural astronomy And I know in Australia as well, it's my supervisor, Ray Norris, he started cultural astronomy 50 years ago, indigenous astronomy in Australia. And it's a relatively recent recognized by the AIU. Is there any work to start religious astronomy? Religious astronomy. So I'll explain a little bit. Like prominent science communicators like Neil deGrasse or Brian Cox tend to stay away from talks on religion because it is a topic that is sensitive. But throughout history, religious astronomy has been a cornerstone that was together. Like Johannes Kepler was a deeply religious astronomer, and Isaac Newton and even Einstein, for example, had a deeply upbringing that was religious, and Planck as well. For example, George Lemaitre was a Christian priest and a mathematician at the same time. Those are contributions that were made throughout history by religious people as well as mathematicians. Myself being an Islamic scholar and an astronomer, is there any work that is done by the IIU, like panels like yourself, to start that field or work on that? Because even though it's a sensitive topic, 76% of the world's population continues to adhere to religion. And religion is a personal experience, astronomy is a personal experience, but there is a gap between two personal experiences. Maybe tough question, I know, but
actually, it is something new that you name this term, if we can count as a term. But I believe it is more related to mythology, because astronomy is directly related to connected to mythology, and mythology is related to religion. So anyway, maybe we can make link like this to religious astronomy.
Well, as a European, I insist on the strict separation of religion and everything else. So we Europeans, after the French Revolution, started to consider religion as something private. So you can have whatever religion you want. I don't care. You can do that. You can practice it. You can pray to whatever God you want. And in whatever way you want. In France, I heard it's even forbidden to ask for the religion. So in that sense, in that spirit, I think that the IIU will never really make that a working group or so, because it's really because it causes conflict, and you cannot do something like a commission for religious astronomy. But you can, of course, teach any religion in schools. So that is maybe not only private in the strict European sense, because there are religious schools, religious universities, and so on, all over the world, also in Europe. So you can create communities where you can use religion or incorporate religion in anything, in any education. But as a global organization, the IIU is not able to do that, because we cannot, there's simply no way of bridging the gaps between all these religions and to get everything under one umbrella. Because there are too many hells in the world, you know. So every religion has its own.
Of course. The only concern that I have is, do we then alienate the next Einstein or the next Newton or the next George Lemaitre?
No, they
because
can.
Of that divide?
No, they can have their religion, as I said.
Of course,
it's not an issue. It's like you know, Ataturk made this for Turkey, that there should be a strict separation between the spiritual practice and you know whatever deity you pray to, and whatever you do in the rest of their lives. And then, of course, religions always come with some corpus of laws, which may or may not be in contradiction with the state laws. But this is not a topic for the IIU.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that is why the IIU has no means to deal with that.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mike. Because this is a topic we actually discuss sometimes. So there are some debates that happen where we bring a religious man and a scientist, but it's not a debate. Okay, it's just at least in the Arabic world, like these kind of debates actually encourage more people to learn about astronomy, because there could be an overlap, especially if I'm talking specifically about Islam, where you have to praise the Lord and all that, and God is great and all of that, so you could see it in astronomy. So this is one part. Another part we work on and focus on, there's actually a German professor in Qatar University who we invite almost every year. No, no. But he speaks fluent Arabic, and his topic is all about Muslim extraterrestrial life, and yeah. So he's a wonderful professor, very interesting. He doesn't really go deep into the religion, but he talks about the Muslim culture, extraterrestrial life, and all of that. Fluent in Arabic. So it's a topic people like talking about, at least in the Arabic world.
And I will say there is one worldwide organization based in Europe which does not feel that way. It's called the Vatican, because it has observatories in different parts of the world. It is, of course, just one religion, but it does. I agree that it can be a complicated subject, but I think Mo's example shows that it doesn't have to be. I think we may have swung the pendulum a little bit too far, because we could talk about religion in general and not argue about whose religion is right and so on. I agree that they're, yeah, exactly. Cultural astronomy is what that is. So, but I think we've talked a lot. I think religion is an important part of culture, whatever it happens to be.
Thank you for bringing this topic to our attention. Yes, this is really important, specifically for the Middle East. So it's time to actually wrap up the session, Mike. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, definitely. For last one.
Let us finish with the joke. Mike,
discussion is started.
Yeah, coming back to cultural astronomy, Mike said that even hotels have stars. Yes, they are. So when we organize summer camps in Birakan Observatory, we have guest house, a moderate hotel. So once I told the new group, that our hotel is not very high quality. It's maybe 2 stars. One of the children, a girl, said, "Professor, your hotel is billion stars." Because
what a wonderful,
very nice closing. Thank you, Areg. Yes, and over to you.
Thank you. Fortunately, we don't have much time. We're past the session. But do you want to take one more question, or you want to finish? Okay. So thank you for the moderators, Mike, Saeed, and for guiding this discussion, and to all our panelists. It's an honor to have you and to listen to the discussion. I would also like to thank the online panelists and to my colleague Mahdi Zamadi, our online chair, for coordinating the online session and for technical team for helping connect both our on-site and online audiences. For my side, thank you everyone here and for joining and your questions, your attention, the discussion. And I think this is to conclude this panel discussion, and enjoy the rest of the CAP and the rest of the day. So thank you. Yeah.